Okay, this is the second video from Grant Putnam in regards to the front of the house. So the other item we spoke about was potentially pulling out the walkway about 4 feet. Okay, proportionally to the lawn, that would not make a difference as far as usable lawn, but it would make a big difference as far as having enough space to add more interest with plants to have multiple layers, because right now you have a very skinny strip of mulch that you can add plantings. And it only allows to put in almost like a single layer of plantings, and it gives you kind of like a landing strip, rather than what you typically want is at least 9-10 feet of space between the house and the side of your walkway to give you multiple layers of interest, multiple layers of plantings between the walkway and the house. All right, so I mentioned it's probably about 45-50 feet from here to there. So you're dealing with probably in the neighborhood of about $4,000 to pick up this walkway, relocate it further about 4 or 5 feet off the house, and then reinstall it out here and have it again tie into here. Okay, so the other thing I think you need to do is you need to put a little bed at the entrance to the corner of the walkway over here in the lawn and put a tree in, so you frame the corner of your house, and put another tree over here, not in front of the house, but off the 45 degree off the corner of the house. It doesn't block your view from the porch, but it frames the house. That's very important. Okay, and then you typically then want to put in some upright evergreens or some smaller plants that say grow 5-6 feet tall off the corners of your house here, on either side of the steps. So again, you're framing your house and you have variety of height, because right now everything's like the same level. And usually you don't want that. You want to get some interest with different height, different plants that bloom different periods. So that's kind of the concept, okay? So as we make our way here in the backyard, like I said, there's a hibiscus. That won't start blooming until end of July. More American boxwood, hibiscus. Okay. Your mop head hydrangeas from the front that haven't flowered in 5 years, you mentioned, those you could relocate back here in this partial sunlight. So I would transplant all these back here too, because they're all kind of in a random pattern. So there's 3 mop head hydrangeas back here. You have 4 mating grasses and about 5 or 6 of these carex. Okay, and then rethink this area, add some taller flowering plants in here, such as viburnum for this corner. Potentially add some more flowering plants in front of these spruce trees. Remove this tree here, this black cherry. Allows more sunlight in for these spruce. Clip up some of these branches here too to allow more sunlight on these spruce. The spruce will look better just from getting more sunlight. Remove the andromeda here. You got a couple of daylily in here. You could probably transplant those so you don't get a lot of sunlight back here. Another little pocket of plantings here. I know this might be a secondary priority, but underneath these hemlocks, you're seeing straight through to your neighbor, especially from where you're entertaining people. So what you might consider doing is removing the rhododendron, removing these hemlock trees, and then planting a little bit further back other types of plants that give you screening from the ground up, so you don't see the neighbor's house. So that's another 40 feet from the edge of the dogwood tree to the forsythia plants that you might consider landscaping, but that might be a second priority based on our conversation. Potentially moving the 2 crabapple trees, that only could be done in March when the buds are swelling, but before the leaves emerge. All right, and that would be a next year project. It would require using a heavy machine to move these. So we would have to know where your septic is. And then potentially, again, you might remove these if these bothered, if the location bothered you for these 2 crabapple trees. Okay. If I was you, I'd take out the lilac. It's just seen its day and not doing healthy, not looking good. So I'd take that out and then rethink this area, this little pocket here and this pocket here, to make it tie in with what you're planting around the front of the house and whatnot. So that's another little spot in here. All right, and the last spot we spoke about was this area over here. Starting at the rhododendron and making our way down. We talked about potentially using some Annabelle hydrangeas, which do well in the shade, guaranteed to bloom because they bloom on new wood. It's a different type of hydrangea than what you have in the front. Then a mixture of evergreens and perennials that bloom at different periods. That could look really nice in this area. So that was the other area that we were talking about, potentially doing some landscaping. And we do the other thing is we do all the irrigation in-house, so any modifications which would be required to water the plants or move the sprinkler heads, we do that as an in-house service. This way you're not dealing with multiple contractors, having to schedule multiple contractors, and then not dealing with the blame game on whose fault it is when the plant dies, whether it's the irrigation guy's fault or landscaper's fault. Plus you just get peace of mind that everything's gonna be done the right way. So that's it. I appreciate the opportunity. We'll talk to you soon.